Hello and welcome to episode 47 of Lost and Chronologically Lost, where all my hyping up of Matthew's theories finally pays off in a glorious moment where they are all destroyed.
I think that was mean of you, and I think that was unnecessary. And I think part of the reason it was unnecessary is that it's been like weeks or a month since we last recorded. I spent this whole time having to think certain things would happen, and you led me on. I feel led on.
Yeah, it's true. It has been a couple, several weeks since we've recorded. It shouldn't be any different for you listeners. It should just be week to week.
Except that I have a good microphone now. I hope it sounds better.
Yeah. Um, so anyone who has seen the show before can imagine that I was on the edge of my seat waiting for Matthew to finally see the end of season 5, and suddenly we had to wait quite a while, and we'll be waiting quite a while for season 6 too. But
Yeah.
at least here we finish it out.
Yep. But yeah, so I guess we should start just at the beginning, though, where we basically just catch up with Sun and the gang who have crashed once again on the island, this time on Hydra Island, where, what was her name? Ilana is, asking Sun if she lost someone, and, as everyone... one thing I noticed is, well, the impression I had now, which I then realized was perhaps mistaken later on, is that, wow, a lot of the people here are just random people after they went through all the trouble of killing off all the random people at the start of season 5. But
Yeah,
it turns out not all of them are actually random people.
Not all of them. Yeah, there's a couple there who are important.
But anyway, well, Caesar just is like, what the fuck? And Frank is like, I don't know, because he's lying. Then we get Ben leaving.
Yeah, like I will say, one of the guys in the crowd, as you'll find out, I don't know if you recognized him, but he teams up with Alana
Yes,
later.
oh no,
It's the guy
Yes.
who kidnapped Miles that one time.
So I didn't notice him here, and then there's like a first shot that really shows his face, and I didn't recognize him there. But then his next scene, I was like, wait a second. But yeah, so for now, they are just acting like they are normal people, and Sun goes to follow Ben.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, well, I'm going to the main island. Want to come with?
And
Sure.
yeah. The thing about that decision is it kind of is just like, sure. Like, there's no bullshit around with like, oh, can we trust Ben? It's like, yeah, just go back to the main island. Don't deal with this shit.
Yeah, well, Lapidus is like, absolutely don't do this. Don't go with him. And then, only for Ben to turn around for 1 second and Sun to
Yeah,
instantly
because
knock him out.
Sun is still in her girl boss phase.
Sad to say, this is the end of her girl boss phase. She will not do any girl bossing for the rest of the series, unfortunately.
I mean, I would hope she gets back with Jin soon, and, she became a girl boss out of necessity. I mean, that's not to say you can't be a girl boss while also having a relationship, but I guess it's not really what Sun wanted.
It's more like it's not what the writers wanted anymore.
Well, meanwhile, we get Caesar. That was his name, right? Because I don't think they say his name. I'm just going off of what I remember you telling me.
I think they say it like once.
Okay, well, he is, investigating an office. He finds maps, a shotgun, and I think we find out later there is a photo of Ben and his daughter here, so it's a good thing he didn't find that.
Yeah.
But he, pretends he didn't find a gun to Alana, and then Alana tells him, we found a man in a suit, and, I mean, I'm just thinking, oh yeah, Locke is our Jesus figure, he gets resurrected, yeah, so, wow, he's alive again.
So, like, were you excited at this time to see more Locke?
I was excited, like, I thought it would be a big shame if his character arc ended with him dying like that. I thought he clearly wasn't finished yet. So, this is pretty messed up.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, they didn't even tell the actor, Terry O'Quinn, what was going on with this. he said that he didn't care for the plot twist, and he said I played all of season 5, returning to the island. He's like, I played that just as John Locke, just with no more doubts or fear. That's who I was playing. I wasn't playing some other character.
There is one part of it that is like, I'm like, that is odd for Locke, but I mean, yeah, for a lot of this was just it felt like Locke, and I mean, I think I mentioned this before, but I just want to see like a good character just get treated with the respect they deserve, and not in terms like they can suffer, they can have struggles, but like in the overall narrative, let's give them what the character needs. And it just really feels like Locke is not gonna actually get that. And I mean, in some stories, you try to make a point of sometimes people just die and it sucks. And Lost is, I guess Lost can go either way. Lost, I mean, there's a lot of other characters Lost is killed off that is just kind of random, so it's not like Locke is unique.
Yeah, it does make Locke's whole journey not of someone finding their place and everything. It's his life is a tragedy. It's it begins in a terrible way, and he just has constantly terrible things happen to him. He has like a brief moment of happiness when he's on the island, and then he dies.
There's a metaphor I think I read in a story once where it's just like some people, like they're a candle that burns brightest right before it goes out.
Yeah, and it even makes it's even sadder because of what Jack has said to him earlier, where he says, maybe you're just having delusions that you're special and that you're just a lonely man who crashed on an island, which it ends up being like, yeah, that's actually what he was. Yeah. Sure, his spine was fixed, but that doesn't make him any more special than, say, Rose.
Yeah, he was. He's one of the people. Like, I'm sure he was like. Some people resonate with the island's magic more than others, so he definitely resonated with it some more, but he isn't, like, the single chosen one.
Yeah, and
like, the sad thing is he believed he was, and a character arc of accepting that he wasn't would have been one thing, but he just died.
And it's because so many other characters also believed he was, and would hype him up, and he ends up getting killed by one of them out of jealousy that he was so special. Like... It's one of the most interesting character arcs I've seen in fiction.
I mean, it's not what I'd call a traditional character arc, but, if we step outside the mindset of wanting Locke's character to be treated with respect, it's all interesting stuff to see. Like, him being killed by Ben like that is, like, powerful and, gets at your emotions.
So then, Sun and Lapidus, they arrive at the main island.
Yep, and they see something shaking in the trees. Based off what we know, it probably is nothing.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense because it's like Locke is on the main island, so how could it be the smoke monster also at the main island? I feel like they could have reorganized these scenes a bit and like just gone straight to Sun and Lapidus meeting him, and then once he leaves, then have him appear as Locke.
I mean, so Christian here is the Man in Black.
I have to believe so.
I mean, it's like, you tell me, but
you hear the smoke monster noises.
We do. I don't think I know.
And I don't know why Christian Shepherd would know that there's a 70s picture of these people.
He's been on this island for a while. He could have just, like, seen it or, like, seen them in the 70s.
I guess.
And, well, the thing is...
This just doesn't add up.
Then, I mean, it does... I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, he's telling them to trust Locke. I mean, he is clearly, trying to get people to trust him, fake Locke.
Yeah, exactly.
So... It's definitely, I like seeing Sun finally find out where Jin has been, and, like, this is something that's been going on for so long that, like, she finally knows. We got the reveal. I wonder which episode, so, like, was this the same episode where we saw the picture taken?
I believe so.
It would have been nice to experience some things like that, but then there are some other things I could only experience the chronologically lost way. But so
then we get to
yeah.
Locke and Alana talking, and he's just lying, pretending he's Locke, being like, "Oh, I remember, I was on the plane, but I was being buried, and blah blah blah." And
Well, I don't think he's actually lying. He says he doesn't remember being on the plane, but he guesses that they were going to bury him in the suit.
well, yeah, but they weren't going to bury the man in black in the suit. This is
yeah.
fake because clearly his body is still in the coffin as that Alana and them are going to carry later.
So then, Locke tells Caesar some of what Dharma is, and Caesar's like, tell me how Hurley disappeared, and Locke's like, I can figure that out. But, then Locke gets taken to see Ben injured, and is like, this is the man who killed me. And as soon as Ben wakes up, you gotta give Ben that Ben manipulates by nature and by habit. We don't even see, Ben processing it. As soon as he sees Locke is a...
Oh, I think we see him processing it. To me, the look on his face was of fear.
Okay,
he did not expect this.
But he gets through that quickly. He immediately just oh, I planned this. I wanted you to be alive. I was hoping it would be real. I have a lot to say about Ben's manipulation in these episodes. Because, for one thing, we know Ben was, just hated Locke and wanted him dead.
I don't think he hated him. He says, or does he say it? I forget. Does he say it here that, he just needed that information and everything?
Yeah, he says the way to get everyone back was for you to die, and then
that says, I just didn't have time to talk you back into hanging yourself, which is so. That's a horrible line, but it's also so fucking raw.
Yeah, Ben, I think a while back, I acknowledged, wow, yeah, Ben has some good lines. He is a good villain. Anyway, he explains that he's gonna go get judged by the monster, which... It's kind of funny to me that you can actually read this whole subplot as he's being judged by the monster without knowing it.
Exactly, yeah, except that the monster's doing it all in his own self-interest completely.
Why would the others believe that the monster judges them? I don't think the monster is an authority of morality for the island. He literally isn't. He's an asshole who wants to leave and hates Jacob.
But I think but since they don't know that, you can see how, especially to the audience, you can see how, when Locke saw the monster, he says he saw a bright light, and the monster first didn't attack him, later it attacked him. Ben summoned the monster and it attacked the mercenaries. It did some whole weird thing with Echo where it talked to him for a bit before killing him. So you can see it's like they could interpret that as judging, especially because the ruins are ancient Egyptian.
Yeah.
Which I will have a thing to say about that. Which can be, led to believe that, if it's been here for so long, they do see it as something that you can be judged by.
Yeah, it's just funny how they're wrong. Wow, they sure are idiots. Anyway, so then Ben, is talking to Caesar, and he's, first he sort of says hi to Ilana and that the guy who was trying to kidnap Miles, which...
Bram.
Yeah, this was the shot where I did not recognize him, but it's the next time we see him on the screen that I recognize him. But he talks to Caesar, and Ben just immediately goes oh, he thinks I killed him. What a crazy guy. We gotta be careful. Good thing. And he's Caesar's don't worry, I have a gun. We immediately know Ben wants that gun.
Yeah. And then Ben goes and gets this picture of him and Alex, and then they have the whole conversation with Locke about being killing you is the only way, and blah blah blah. And then at the end, Locke just goes, "Well, I just wanted an apology."
Yep. And I just want to point out, Ben, I feel the thing is, Ben didn't even really gain much from telling Caesar that, we might have to kill Locke, he's crazy. He found out that Caesar has a gun. I guess that was useful. But it's Ben is not even manipulating people with a singular goal. Ben just, anytime he talks to someone, he lays down seeds of manipulation that he might be able to pick up on later. And it's it's smart, but it kind of like annoys me, not on like a bad writing level, but on like a personal level. Like, wow, this is so unnecessary. And I guess I came to the conclusion, if you have Ben in your group, you need to set up nightly meetings where every day everyone just says, Ben told me this. Oh, Ben told me this. So you can see if there are any contradictions.
It's like Miles said back in season 4. Last week he was sitting in a dungeon, and now he's having Christmas dinner with you all. I think he's a guy who gets what he wants. Like,
yeah,
he will always find a way to say something in his best interest, and that's also why I like season 5 here, because you can see him completely unraveling now, because he has no way to control who he thinks is Locke. In any way, Locke is completely manipulating him.
These episodes I watched last night, these are the ones that started to make me really think Ben is a fantastic character. Like, he's been a memorable villain, he has been hateable, he has done interesting things, he has done clever plans, he's done a lot of good stuff for a villain, and you have said for a while, like, Ben is your favorite character, I think.
Yeah, well, it's funny also you should mention that here, because this is actually the episode that Ben's actor, Michael Emerson, won an Emmy for portraying Ben.
Justified.
Yeah, it was this whole stretch of Minnie Locke going to go get judged. The episode ends with him getting judged, and then with the flashbacks of when Ben meets Widmore for the first time, when he steals Alex and saves her from Widmore, when he exiles Widmore, and then when he almost shoots Penny.
Damn. So then,
and what's crazy about this too is that's only the second acting Emmy that the show got. And the only other one, it was for the episode where in the current time Locke blows up the submarine, and in the flashback you find out how he got paralyzed. Locke's actor won for that.
I mean, he did a lot of great work there.
Yeah, but it's like, no, they didn't get any other acting Emmys for that, which is just crazy to me. The
thing is, I feel like the acting in Lost is often very consistent. Like, they're all usually doing a pretty great job, so then off the top of my head I'm not sure, like, okay, which specific character in a specific episode really deserved it, because I feel like it's just all on like a general high quality baseline.
Yeah, I believe like Matthew Fox as Jack was nominated, I believe, every year and didn't win in any year, which is...
See, that sort of has that kind of like protagonist syndrome where it's like, sometimes when you're the main character, I feel like you kind of just don't get a chance to do something really, like, shocking or, like, insane.
Yeah, I suppose.
And, like, when you're the main character, when you're, like, what everything else is grounded in, you kind of need to, like, stay level. But, I feel like Saeed did some amazing stuff at some points. He could have gotten an Emmy.
Who?
Saeed.
Oh, so yeah, I believe he was also nominated this season. He was going against Michael Emerson for his episode. I believe it's the one where he like gets tortured and shoots Ben. That episode, I believe.
Yeah.
So and it's like, well, that's good. I'm like, but good. You know what? I think Ben's episode was better.
The thing with that is, it's good, but it's so weird to me because it was what my first impression of Saeed was. So then, like, what I ended up getting during the main island plot is, like, different from that. And it's like, wait, I didn't expect Saeed to be one of my favorite characters from the part where he shoots Ben, but then he is one of my favorite characters.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
That's also one of the joys of doing this chronologically, is your perceptions will shift in different ways compared to the normal show.
Anyway, this is a whole ass tangent, but I wanted to say, so for a while, I've respected Ben as, like, a good character, good villain presence. You know, it's very funny to me how, like, the villain, I mean, the Man in Black is, like, the final villain, I think, but Ben is the villain of Lost. And it's funny to me, like, yeah, the scariest villain is this middle-aged white guy who's very manipulative and sociopathic.
And he gets beat up all the time. He wears the little nerdy circular glasses,
He's not scary because he's his archetype of a character. He's scary because of what he does and how he thinks. Anyway, still tangenting, so let me just say, these were the episodes that made me think, okay, he's not just a good villain, Ben is a truly great character, because this is when we see him break down. We see that even though he's such a big manipulator, that starts to fail. We see his regrets. We see that he genuinely does hate himself for killing Alex. We see a man get broken. We're like, sure, he got the shit beaten out of him in, like, season 3, but he still wanted to manipulate. He still had his plans. This is where we see Ben truly stripped down to his core. And honestly, if there's any possibility that Ben can change, it is only after what we see here.
I will say, the scene of Ben getting judged by the smoke monster is my favorite scene in the whole show. That is my favorite scene. Like, I rewatch it all the time just because of the emotion that I think both actors brought to that scene. Especially because you can tell they did, like, alternate takes for the flashback scenes with Alex's actress that I think are better than the scenes they put in the main show, which is questionable, but they did it, and I think it's better for it. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Also, okay, we should actually move on in discussing the plot.
Right. Okay. Well, the plot here is Caesar tries to shoot Locke, and then Ben shoots him instead.
And it's like, wow, you did all that manipulation of Caesar, and it was pointless anyway. You just did it in case you might have to use that.
Yeah, and then Locke, he's like, oh, you shot an unarmed man. He's like, he was only unarmed because I stole his gun. Like,
it's just funny because I expected Caesar to be I didn't expect him to be, like, the most major character, but I expected a bit more, like, oh, he's our normal person perspective on, like, being
right. When you see all these bits spread out over, like, 6 episodes of, like, one little scene on the island, it seems that he's more important.
Yeah.
But when you watch it chronologically and you get all his scenes in 20 minutes,
it's like, we don't really have time for new normal people reacting to what the island is. We have important stuff to do.
Yeah, and the only other new normal person who's supposed to be reacting turns out is not normal at all and is in on all the plans and somehow, right? Like Alana. So then Locke's like, yeah, Ben, you're obviously not going to get judged over leaving the island and coming back. You're obviously going to go get judged over Alex. And he's like, yeah, pretty much.
Oh, wait, one more thing I wanted to mention is that Ben also tells Locke, like, I shot him because he wanted to kill you. Ben says that knowing full well he manipulated Caesar into wanting to kill Locke.
Yeah, but it's like you also have to think that Locke would, I'll tell you what we call it. We call him Flock for fake Locke, like, as in, he's, on the inside, he's happy that happened, because if Caesar had shot him, it wouldn't die. I think he would just turn into a bit of smoke and then reform, and it would completely destroy his plans. Like,
yep. So then, they sort of have that brief conversation about, like, why'd you move into the Dharma base? The island wouldn't want this. And Ben is like, you don't know what the island wants. And Locke is like, no, you don't know what the island wants. But I guess maybe Flock actually does know more about what the island wants. Anyway, they see the light turn on because Sun is in there. And,
Yeah, and she has the picture of all of them in 1977.
Like, Christian told us to wait here for John Locke. And he's like, look outside. Crazy.
Yeah, and, Sun is confused that Locke is alive, as is everyone.
Yep,
and then Ben goes to, like, the ruins under his house to go summon the smoke monster by unclogging an ancient Egyptian toilet.
He goes into the Egypt hole, finds another hole, and it's like, what even was that? Like,
that's how you summon the smoke monster, apparently.
The toilet. It was gross. Like, did he wash his hands after this?
And then, then we have, Ben saying, he's like, I've seen this island do miraculous things, but it doesn't bring back the dead, so I don't know what the fuck's going on right now.
Yep, I mean, Ben...
And then he says a line, he's like, be careful, because what's about to come out of that jungle is something I can't control. Of course, followed by Flock coming out of the jungle, which is
I'm
just
sure
top
the
tier.
writers loved doing this to us.
Oh, they patted themselves on the back for that one, as they should.
This is the scene where, like, he's telling... Like, he told Locke that he was hoping... he told Locke that he was hoping that Locke would be resurrected. He told Sun that he had no idea it would happen. This is just like, yeah, okay, this is fake Locke anyway, but you could have had that, like, nightly meeting where you touch base on what Ben has told you, and that could reveal a lot.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think it's clear he's telling Sun the truth here, that he did not expect Locke to resurrect.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he definitely... I mean, he didn't need to lie there, whereas he needed to tell Locke that he expected it out of self-preservation.
Yeah, and then Locke is like, well, then we'll, instead of summoning the monster here, we'll just go to where the monster is. And Ben's like, I don't know where that is. And Locke is like, I do.
And, of course,
when I was watching this season originally, like, the first time I was watching, I was so entranced by this John Locke. I was like, oh my god, this guy's the coolest guy. He now knows everything. And in retrospect, it's even more tragic that no, he didn't. It's just someone wearing his skin as a puppet, basically.
It's a bamboozle to the point that I can understand if some people hate it.
It's true. A lot of people did not like that twist.
Yeah.
And I can see... The thing is, I like the twist. It's just that there's another season to go, and what they do with it, I don't think is the best route. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, Lost is not a perfect show.
No, it is
not. I'm
not.
expecting season 6 to be interesting. I am expecting it to answer... Well, I can't even say answer a lot of things, because I've seen some of those answers already. I expect it'll be a solid enough ending. I don't expect it to resolve every character arc perfectly.
Perfectly? No. I know there's one main character who you are just not going to enjoy the end of their character arc, because I certainly didn't, and neither did anyone else.
Oh, man.
I won't say who, though, so keep you guessing.
Yep. Probably Kate.
So, Locke points out that, his and Ben's positions are switched now. Ben has to follow him through the jungle, not knowing what the hell's going on.
Yep. And he takes him to that wall where Ben was once brought to be healed. And, this is...
Well, no. Ben was brought inside the temple to be healed. This is just like a wall outside.
I'm saying this is the wall we saw on the screen when they were taking him.
Right, yeah.
And then they are going in the hole, because we are going in a lot of holes this episode.
Yeah. And so we have, Ben telling Sun, hey, if I die and you make it off here, tell Desmond I said I was sorry.
That's an overdue apology.
Yeah, this was also really sus, because it came in, it was like flashback to Ben saying, oh, I'm gonna kill your daughter, Widmore. Cut to this scene, and then cut to him shooting Desmond. It was like...
Oh, so you think it's for killing Penny, but no, it's just literally for killing Desmond. Or trying to.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So Lapid just gets back to the plane.
Yeah, and
Ilana's whole gang is in charge now.
There's like, what lies in the shadow of the statue, and she hits him on the head. And yeah, it's the guy who met with Miles. So... I have a lot of questions about who these people are, but the thing is, I feel like the answers to my questions don't exist, or rather, it's like, I could ask you,
The thing is here, no, you've already seen the answer.
That's sort of my thing. I could ask you, is this a secret group of agents that Jacob set up for cases like this that is separate from the others?
Yes. Yep.
And it's like, the thing is, when I ask that question, it's because I want to know even more. I want to know the details. It's a mystery to me, but the answer is just a straightforward yes, and that's it.
Yeah, well, because the answer to this is the scene where Jacob goes to Ilana in hospital bed and says, I need you to help me.
See, to me, that's
the answer to all these other scenes.
Even more mystery we could resolve here, but I had a feeling that
To be fair, they actually did have an entire storyline planned for Ilana in Season 6 that they did not execute because they said they didn't have enough time. Which I would agree with, but we're going to get this one really long subplot in Season 6 that means absolutely nothing. And I'm like, boy, you could have just cut that other fucking subplot and given a lot of that subplot. Well, it's really annoying. We'll get to it.
Yep. So, yeah, They knock.
So
knock
Ben
Jake out.
falls into another hole
Yep.
inside of this hole.
Because, it's holeception. When he goes into the Egypt hole, he finds the toilet hole. When he goes into the smoke monster hole, he falls into the ruins hole.
Right, and so here we see like some hieroglyph of Anubis and the smoke monster. And
Meaningless.
one, meaningless. Two, there's a whole theory about this. Okay, so if we assume that Jacob and the Man in Black, their mother came from ancient Rome or ancient Carthage, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And that mother was there before them. We could extrapolate that the mother character came from Egypt, and you're gonna say, oh, but it was a white actress, and I would say, well, that's Hollywood for you.
Yeah.
And so there's a theory that the mother character was both the Jacob and the smoke monster to the island for a long time, and that it was having these two boys that actually set it up to be different, one to be the Jacob and one to be the smoke monster. And people also say that's how she was able to kill everyone in that one town, was by becoming the smoke monster and killing them all. Which, it's like, that would add up.
I guess.
I wish the show did anything with that. This is all just fan extrapolation. There's no text to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool lore. Not much else I can really say about it. I guess...
And it's all fan
I
interpretation.
guess my
There's
only
no,
thought is, what does being the smoke monster to the island mean? Is that like a necessary role?
I
don't think the smoke monster is the Man in Black is doing anything intentionally for the island. He's just being a dick.
See, I think that's because it is the Man in Black, but I think it's like maybe the smoke monster was actually meant to be, like you have the once good side of Jacob who, would talk to people and would be nice to them and help them, and then you have the smoke monster that is like the security system
punishment.
that would kill, the punishment side. And they got split up here, and it said the punishment side is someone who wants to leave.
The others, it's supposed to be what the others think it is.
Exactly. And maybe they think it is because they were, still believing some things from ancient Egypt or whatever. But again, this is all fast speculation. There's nothing. They don't give us anything about this.
Yeah. So anyway, Ben sees, it gets all spooky, and the Smokey comes out. It's good old Smokey, and he sees his actions toward Alex, and then Alex appears, and I mean, we know it's Smokey, and she just chokes him and is like, "Don't kill Locke, you piece of shit. Do everything he says. Fuck you."
Yeah. And I mean, we're glossing over this. It's a pretty powerful scene, but it's that's what the scene is.
It's not Alex.
He sees his dead daughter tell him,
it is,
no matter what, do what Locke says.
It is not Alex's will and resentment for what he did, but it is how Ben thinks of her.
Yeah, it's how Ben thinks of her enough that the smoke monster can manipulate him.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as Alex disappears, then Locke reappears. Yeah. To be fair, a lot of people after this episode did get on the theory, they're like, oh, Locke is the smoke monster because of the convenient disappearing and reappearing and everything.
In retrospect, that is definitely there.
A lot of fans had figured it out by this point, which it's not too bad. I think this was episode 9 out of 14, and 2 of those episodes were only in the 70s, so it was
So then, that's the end.
Then we go to the next
That's the
episode
end of 87. We're on 88 now, and
we get another time flash because I know you were just excited to see more of those.
Yeah.
Now that
I mean, these definitely tied together some things I forgot had to be tied together. This is right after it's right after we see Kate, where she's like, yeah, he misses Kate, and Sawyer's like, doesn't matter, and they just kind of talk oh, the light is from the hatch.
Because this is right after they saw all the season 1 stuff.
And it's oh, we're getting nosebleeds, and this is, I mean,
Daniel's like, oh, it has to do with time on the island, and Miles like, but I've never been to the island.
Look, that explanation is. It is totally consistent. It is the people who spent their childhood on the island who are affected. That makes sense. It's total bullshit, but it is consistent with what we see.
Yeah, and this is the question to an answer we got, 80 episodes ago?
Yeah, something like that. So,
So yeah, they get to the old camp and they find boats with
yep.
like a jeer of water and everything, and
Yeah, and they,
they're like, "Hey, let's go row around the island because the boat that had
yeah.
an engine isn't here anymore. So whatever."
So they take it, and then, once we see this, I'm like, oh yeah, isn't there a flash where I saw them appearing in a canoe?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And so they start getting shot by. I think they put this in here to imply that they are getting shot by Ilana's crew, which is like
I thought it was that.
I guess. Here's the thing:
I thought
they
it was-
never explain who
thing
the
is,
fuck is shooting at them.
I thought it was that, but then we see Ilana's crew arriving later.
Yeah, they don't. Again, this is something the writers have said. Yeah, we never got around to answering this. We don't know who it was either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
It's
this is the scene where it starts flashing and Sawyer says, "Thank you, Lord," and then they arrive in the 90s in like torrential rain, and then he says, "I take that back."
yeah.
And I believe this led into the gin stuff.
So then we see Richard just messing around with the ship in a bottle, and Flock shows up, and it is been
Yeah, and Richard's like, "There's something different about you."
yeah. And Locke just says it's that he has a purpose, and he explains to Son, or Ben explains to Son that Locke is the leader, and that Richard is the advisor and has been for a long time, which is probably the first time the show confirms his role.
Yeah, pretty much.
To me, I'm just like, yeah, that's what Richard does.
Yeah, so then Son asks Richard Alpert about the picture, and he's like, "Do you remember this if you've been here a long time?" And he's like, "Oh, I remember them dying."
And so I'm sure we got this before we saw the nuke go off.
Yeah, apparently the scene of the nuke going off, it wasn't just supposed to be Juliet hitting it. Like, you were supposed to see Richard watching it happen somehow from far away, and that's why he thought they were all dead. Which, okay, I mean, spoiler, they didn't kill off Kate and Sawyer and Jack all in one instant like that.
Yeah.
Sort of burst your bubble if you thought that happened.
Yeah.
But then they didn't do that, so then this line makes no sense.
So then, Locke basically tells Son, if there's a way to save them, I'll find it. And obviously this is fake Locke, but also, even when I thought it was real Locke, that doesn't make sense. If they survived, it would be just because for some reason the island decided to flash them back to the future with that. Like nothing Locke does would have anything to do with that.
Yeah. And then, so Locke, he's going to let Ben be around with his people, and Ben's like, "Oh, you're not afraid? I might stage a coup with my old people." And Locke goes, "I'm not afraid of anything you can do anymore, Ben." Which
I mean, is
I wish real Locke was saying this. Like,
it's a true statement.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get another time flash, which is just like, yep, Daniel is explaining that they can't change the timeline. And then, Richard wants to know where Locke was, and Locke is just like, I want to see Jacob. And it's like, no, you can't. Nope, I'm seeing Jacob. And Locke is basically going to take them to the plane. And here's the thing. You were supposed to get, ages ago, a scene of Richard showing up and helping Locke and telling him that he had to die.
You were supposed to, so this is like episode 9 of season 5. This scene of Richard showing up being like, "Locke, you have to die," was episode 1 of season 5.
So you were supposed to get all of that, and so you're supposed to be like, oh, this is finally explaining it. But to me, it's kind of a double reveal. Like, it was a massive reveal all at once that, this happened at all, and it was because of Locke doing, this time travel stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, Locke killing himself would have made a lot more sense if I knew that he got told this.
Yeah, and then, Richard even goes, "Well, it's a good thing that didn't have to happen." And he goes, "Yeah, well, it did."
Yeah. And anyway, so it was a cool scene, and so also Richard gives him the compass, and what is the compass's timeline?
The compass's timeline is that Richard gives it to Locke here in 2007, and then Locke time travels back to 1953 and gets it to Albert.
Okay.
It's completely circular. There's no actual origin of it. They just keep giving it back to each other in the loop.
I mean...
Like, you can complain about that, but it's a compass. It doesn't actually do anything.
The thing is, I actually wanted to say, like, in fiction, I'm fine with closed time loops. Some people really, really complain about them. They're like, ugh, I hate that,
Yeah, the only other thing is that it's one of the items Richard brings out when he's testing, like,
yeah.
5-year-old Locke.
See, the thing is, some people are like, oh my god, it's so, like, it needs an origin point, or the loop wouldn't exist. I'm like, I don't care, it's a story. Time travel is cool, let's just let it happen. But I'm fine with that for something like, oh, we have a closed loop of Richard helping Locke, and then Locke telling Richard to help Locke. But in terms of an object, like a compass existing with no origin, I'm a little more iffy on that.
Yeah. Well, it is. Then, so he gives a speech about, hey, you know, we're all gonna go get to know Jacob because you deserve to know, and blah blah blah. And you know, Richard goes, "I'm starting to think John Locke is trouble," and Ben goes, "Why do you think I tried to kill him?" Like,
so the thing is, for this being Locke's motivation, I mean, the thing is, if Locke was really in tune with the island, I feel like the island would have told him Jacob is all right.
Yep. Pretty much.
So that's like, I wasn't like, I didn't suspect a thing, but I did feel like it was weird how Locke was acting, that he was like, I want to kill Jacob. Because like his logic makes sense on the surface that like, oh, you know, he's making us die for him, making us suffer, and you don't even get to see him. But it still is like, it's still just like, you know, would Locke really come to that? And I mean, the answer is no.
Yeah. So he also says he's not interested in reuniting the Oceanic people because, spoiler alert, he's not from the Oceanic people.
Yep. And then, yep. I mean, that's where he says we're gonna kill him, and I'm just like, seriously, what? Just then we get Ben sort of just explaining to Son. Richard is the liaison, and like Ben has never met.
Yeah, well, and then Richard questions how Locke is alive, and then what Locke says is, "I am the way I am because of Jacob," which is true, but like, yeah.
And then, so
that also implies that they're gonna have to kill all the Ajira flight people because
yeah, he's like, we have to deal with them, and that should also be a hint because we know that Ilana works for Jacob, so like, they're all right to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, I'm sorry, but there was something I wanted to mention that I forgot about, and I only realized I should mention now. There was one other unanswered question I wanted about, like, the Jacob's secret agents. Right. So they work for Jacob. They do what Jacob wants. Yes. Why did they not want Miles to come to the island?
No, they wanted Miles to come to the island. They just didn't want him to go to the island working for Widmore.
Okay.
Like they said, they're like, oh, well, we can help you. And he's like, well, how much are you going to pay me? And they're like, well, we won't pay you. And he's like, well, then no.
Okay, so they did want him to come. They were just anti-Widmore. Okay. Yes. Anyway, so, we get, you know, the Ajira people brought Frank, and it's like, he didn't know the answer to the question, but maybe he's a candidate. And he's awake and is like, what the hell is going on? So they show him what's in the box, and I mean, I find out later what it is. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, I love his reaction. He just goes, terrific. Like, yep. Just.
So then, Locke.
And then we have Locke finding out that Ben will do whatever he says, if he didn't already fucking know.
Locke asks Ben why he didn't tell Richard his plan, and I almost thought maybe this meant Locke was actually testing Ben just to see if Ben would, like, reveal to Richard, but he didn't actually want to kill Jacob. But no, he still wants to kill Jacob. Then he finds out here Ben is loyal. And I guess it was actually the Man in Black testing to see if him manipulating Ben into being loyal worked.
Yeah. So then Alana's group arrive at the cabin, and they find that there's, like, some ash circle around the cabin that is broken, and they're like, oh, someone else has been using it, which is just an easy way to say, oh, all that Jacob stuff was actually the Man in Black, even though that also doesn't add up, but that's what we're going with.
Definitely still doesn't make sense to me. And
Yeah,
what
and then
the
they
hell
burn it, which
happened
would...
to Claire?
They haven't forgotten about her, don't worry.
Anyway, so they have to show. I mean, they say we have to show some of the box so they know what they're up against. It's like, yeah, so we know it's the Men in Black.
Yeah. So then we get Locke going to Ben. He goes, "Can I ask you a question?" He immediately goes, "I'm a Pisces," which one funny. Two, he's a Sagittarius.
Really?
Yeah. He he lies with no hesitation.
Yep. And Ben admits that he was, talking to an empty chair. Never saw shit. He was embarrassed, and he was very surprised when stuff started flying around.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Why do I have to kill Jacob?" And Locke's like, "Well, hey, you got canceled on the island. Alex died for this. You got banished, and Jacob never agreed to meet you. Like, why would you feel any loyalty to this guy?"
But
and to be fair, those are all good points.
Did Jacob meet when Ben as a child got healed? Was Jacob there?
No.
Okay, it's interesting to know. Anyway, yeah, this actually gets to Ben that he should resent Jacob. And we see Sun finding one of Charlie's rings, which, that's sad.
I was so happy for the scene because I had completely forgotten that this happened. And so when he left when Claire accidentally left the ring in the crib at the end in like season 3, I was like, no, because I forgot that it gets brought all the way back 2 seasons later. Yeah. They forget about Claire for season 5, but they remember her baby.
Anyway, then Locke and the gang get to the foot. And Locke just goes, "It's a wonderful foot, but what does it have to do with Jacob?" And he's just playing at being a goober.
Yeah, and then Sun asks what happened to the statue, and Ben goes, "It was like that when I got here."
Yeah, which is and like Locke is like doubting that. It's like, this is an ancient fucking statue. It was probably destroyed long, long ago before.
Yeah, it was broken like 200 years ago. Come on.
Anyway,
so then Locke and Ben go inside to go see Jacob.
Yeah. I mean, Richard is like, "No, you can't take Ben. Only the leader can go in." And Locke is just like, "These rules are fake and made up and ratio." And so Richard actually lets it happen. It's odd to see here that, like, for a lot of Richard's presence in the show, he is like the one in power. He's confident. He knows what's up. And then this is like Richard is actually put off and doesn't really understand what's happening because Locke is taking control. Flock, I mean. So
yes.
At this point we're having the Jacob flashbacks where we see, him meeting everyone, right?
Yeah, those are all the flashbacks.
So the thing about that is, so he meets everyone, and well, I just feel like
that's it. Those are the flashbacks. It's just him meeting each person.
Well, at that point, I feel like if you were watching that episode, once you see a random mysterious guy meeting people, you would probably, and in the same episode they're building up Jacob, you would probably guess.
Oh no, you know it's Jacob.
You know it's Jacob.
Because to be fair, the very beginning of the episode is Jacob and the Man in Black watching the Black Rock begin to come sail to the island, and the Man in Black explicitly calls him Jacob.
Okay. Okay.
So you know that man.
So and they've also cast the Man in Black by now.
Yes, they've cast the Man in Black and they've cast Jacob.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is definitely stuff that would have been cool to watch in the original order, but it is also cool for me. So,
yeah. So then Alana's group arrives at the foot, and they ask the question, and the answer is, "He who will save us all," in Latin.
What a bunch
which
of
is like, that's lame.
What a bunch of romaboos.
Is it romaboos if you're actually descended from them?
Richard isn't.
Well, no, he isn't, but...
Anyway, they show that Locke is dead, and it's like, oh, fuck. And for original order of viewers, it must have been like, what the fuck? Someone is impersonating him? But then for me, it's like, oh shit, it was the Man in Black. This shit. It's like, the parallels. A corpse, Christian's corpse gets taken on the plane, Man in Black uses it. Parallels, Locke's corpse gets taken on the plane, Man in Black uses it.
Yeah, and then they meet Jacob, and Jacob immediately just goes, "Well, you found your loophole."
Yep, he knows.
Like,
and that's how he gets Jacob killed. And
to be fair, Jacob does himself no favors in this situation.
Yeah, well,
he tells Ben, he's like, "You have a choice."
But I get why.
Yeah, you have a choice.
But I get why. Because, okay, first, though, Man in Black says, you have no idea what I've gone through. And, like, I have no idea. What is the extent... Like, what is he counting as what he's gone through? Because he did a lot of manipulation to get things to this point. But is that, like, actually going through something? Is that, like... Was that torturous for him? I don't know.
I think he's counting from all the time when he was, like, 10.
Okay.
And got to the island and was told, you just have to wait to join the others. And in his whole life, it's just been being told, you have to just wait. And eventually it'll happen. Okay. And it never happened.
Now, this is where I decided he's the Man in Black. I'm going to call him Manny. So Manny wants Ben to kill Jacob. And Jacob says, like, you have a choice. And here's the thing. Yeah, Jacob could have... There's a lot of stuff Jacob could have said. Jacob is a nice dude. He is clearly very smart. Like, we've seen Jacob show up at people's lives and just know what to say to them. So Jacob probably could have convinced Ben not to do it, but Jacob just commits to this whole thing that on the island he doesn't interfere. He doesn't interfere because they're seeing if people will choose to be good or not. And so it would break that for him if he told Ben not to kill him. And I think it would be justified to, in the situation where your life is at risk, break that and tell Ben not to kill him and be smart about it. But he is committed to the experiment.
Yeah. Instead, Ben asks, "What about me?" And he says, "What about you?" Which is just the worst possible fucking thing to say at this point. And so, Ben kills Jacob.
I really expected season 6 to be like the Jacob season, where we actually see Jacob and get explanations and get him interacting with people.
To be fair, you do kind of get that in season 6, in the fact that season 6 has the Jacob flashback episode and the Richard Albert flashback episode, which are both so heavily, containing Jacob.
I got those so long ago that to me it's just like... Like, I wanted to see the man from those flashbacks interact with the plot more, but I'm sure originally watching it would be like, oh, we don't get Jacob, and then as a nice surprise, we actually do get Jacob flashbacks. But...
Oh, yeah, everyone was like, what the fuck? They're like, no, we needed this guy to tell us all the answers. And it's like, well, he will, just in a flashback.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, no, I mean, I feel like it's a trope I've seen around, but a solid one, where it's like, you finally meet the big guy and he immediately gets killed, and now we just have to deal with the consequences of that.
Yeah. And then, Man in Black kicks him into the fire.
Yep.
And that ends season 5.
He says one thing. They're coming. Who the fuck is coming?
I think he's talking... Okay, I think he's talking about Alana's people. That line makes no sense, because even if it is Alana's people, why would he warn the Man in Black? Like, why, what?
Yeah, and
this line makes no sense.
Because this is chronologically lost, the thing is, if I wasn't watching this as chronologically lost, I would vaguely assume that Alana's people showing Locke's body was happening at the same time as this, but this is chronologically lost. It's not cut as a split screen, and maybe that's reading into it too much.
No, that all plays out in the order it is.
So I feel like there was time for Richard to run in, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I understand that that's silly and, misses the point.
To be fair, the real end to season 5 is it cuts away from this to Juliet hitting the bomb.
Yeah.
But I have to say you have now seen absolutely all of the content from seasons 1 to 5. All that is left is season 6 content.
So
some of which you have already seen in the form of flashbacks.
I just have one thing to say. I feel candidates. So here's the thing about candidates. I feel like the obvious guess for what the candidates are is so obvious that I feel like I've never even needed to say it, and it's so obvious I think that the show might even subvert it.
Just say
it. That they're candidates to replace Jacob.
All right. Okay.
And I'm not saying that I'm going with that theory. I'm just saying it's the obvious one. It might be so obvious that the show is gonna mess with that. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. I'm just saying I feel like that's... Well, I guess The thing about that is I can't say it's what the show wants me to think, because I in part think that because I know Jacob's backstory. So
Right.
maybe you aren't supposed to be thinking that, but just from my viewing experience, I feel like that is the easiest way to explain it. It's not the only way, it's not, maybe not even the best way. There might be something genius I can't think of, but it is the easiest way. And so to me, I think, what if Jacob, we know Jacob knows things about the future and that he can predict, in some sense, he can predict things, and that he knew, like, he visited people like Locke long before they came to the island, so he knew stuff would happen. Maybe he knew he was going to die. Maybe he accepted that and all along was setting up for someone to replace him.
Maybe, but then you also have to ask the question of what makes someone able to replace Jacob.
Yeah, because, the thing about them being candidates is that...
Well, exactly. Well, the question also there is, who are the candidates then? Like, obviously you'd say, oh, it's the main characters, but is it all of the main characters?
Well,
Does that mean that, going all the way back was, like, say, Boone, was he a candidate?
Look,
like,
if you gave me a quiz on, like, say, is this person a candidate, true or false, I would probably fail that quiz, or maybe I would pass. I could probably get, like, a 60-70%. But I feel like, just in general, like, Locke, Sawyer, Kate, Jack, they've been referred to as potential candidates. We haven't even confirmed Frank as a candidate. They just said maybe he's a candidate. So the thing is, with a lot of these people, or it's like, maybe it's the people Jacob has visited that are candidates, which is Jin and Sun, it includes Hurley. But with a lot of these people, they're good characters. They have great dynamics. I don't see what would make them good candidates. Jack, I kind of get. Jack really thinks a lot about, like, good and bad and saving people. I could see Jack just deciding to stay on the island and, protect it. Kate, I don't see what about her would remotely make you think maybe she could be the replacement for Jacob.
Okay, you know what? Let me run through all of our main characters who are still alive, and you just give me a quick yes or no as to whether or not you think they are a candidate.
But whether
okay?
I think they're a candidate or whether they make sense to me as a candidate. And I totally acknowledge, by the way, that I could be wrong about what being a candidate means.
Let's just say whether or not you think Jacob has chosen them as a candidate.
Just
okay?
whether or not
Jack.
they are a candidate. Yes.
Yeah. Kate.
Yes.
Sawyer.
Yes.
Saeed.
Yes.
Hurley.
Yes.
Lapidus.
No.
Richard.
No.
Ilana.
No.
Ben.
No.
Okay. I think that's all the main characters who are still alive.
What about Jin and Sun?
Oh, wait, no, I'm wrong. Sun.
Yes.
Jin.
Yes. Well, I
know the answers. I'd say you got about like 90% right. You were wrong on one of them.
Maybe Frank actually is one, or maybe Richard is one.
Who knows? Well, you'll find out in season 6. They make it very obvious.
Yeah. We can definitely say, like, the people who we saw Jacob go back and visit are those who are still alive, and from a meta sense...
Oh, Claire.
It is...
Claire, yes or no?
Not sure.
Okay.
Well, the thing is...
I forgot because she wasn't in season 5, but she's still a main character.
The thing is, other than Locke, who, like... Okay, Locke dying is, like... I don't think Locke dying makes... I think Locke was a candidate, he just died. Like, I don't think the candidates are immune to dying. But I do think it says something that, in general, for the most part, those who Jacob visited are mostly still alive. Because I think that is significant in that Jacob knows enough about the future or whatever in some vague way that he would have seen, like, yeah, the people who are going to die early on, like Boone, aren't candidates.
Well, to be fair, though, there is a theory that Jacob actually did visit, like, all of them. That he did visit Boone, and he did visit Shannon, and he did visit everyone. But we just didn't see it because they were dead by this point, so it didn't matter.
That's the thing I was going to say. It's very easy for the writers to write Jacob visiting the people that were still alive, because they wrote it at the time of this episode.
Yeah, and think about it. Think about if you're watching this episode and you see Jacob go to visit Boone. What the hell does that even mean at this point? Like,
but
what?
I don't think it, like, hurts the concept of who is a candidate by...
Okay, wait. Pause for a second. I forgot another main character, okay? Who's still alive.
Who?
Desmond.
Look, if the writers find a way to take Desmond back to the island, I'm honestly going to be impressed.
Eloise says the island wasn't done with him yet.
Yeah,
so.
she did say that. I just don't see how. I mean, he does live on a boat and travel around in a boat. He could just kind of end up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's currently, like, in a hospital bed, I think, so, still recovering from a gunshot wound.
I can see Desmond as a candidate. And then the thing about candidates we have to consider is that it might not entirely be a character thing. It might just be these are people who will be on the island and alive when Jacob dies, or soon after. Like, Jacob can vaguely see the future. He might just consider them candidates simply because they will be there. You know, it might go in the other direction. It might not be they were fated to come to the island because they were candidates for replacing Jacob, but just they are candidates for replacing Jacob because they are people who would end up on the island at the right time.
Yeah.
Anyway, this shit was crazy.
It certainly was. It's, season 5 is my favorite season. And, it is a little unfortunate that in the chronological way you get it split up into, you have the 70s arc here, and you have the on-island arc all the way later, and then you have the time jump parts mixed in everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the season that I think gets done the worst chronologically, I think just because of the time jumps and how random they are.
There were interesting things about it. Like, I think I said a long time ago when we first got the 70s arc, that I've always found or even like in the 50s arc, I've always found the concept interesting of like, if you jump into the story in the middle, will you become invested in the characters? And the answer was yes. And I think that was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Okay, so again, there's only season 6 content left, and you've already seen the Richard and Jacob flashbacks. What are you hoping for in season 6? I will say season 6 is a shorter season.
Dude,
still.
Jacob fucking died. I have no idea what to expect. I mean, there's no Jacob guiding them. I mean, what do you make as the plot? Like, and I think you can make a plot. I just don't know what it will be, because so much of the earlier seasons, the plot is survive on the island. The plot is figure out what the hatch does and keep it going. The plot is, rescue people from the others, get ourselves to survive the others attacking, get ourselves to where we can call, support, get ourselves onto the boat, get ourselves saved, and then get ourselves in the chopper, and then, live in the 70s and just, like, I don't know, do the shit we need to do there. And then season 6
I will say that the tagline for season 6 is everything happens for a reason. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think we can, like, season 6, as far as I can see it, goes back to they are just on the island surviving, but I don't think they're gonna write a bunch of survival plots like season 1. And I mean, you can create conflict. You can create reasons that people need to go from point A to point B, or that people get separated into groups or conflict happens, but I don't know what it'll be.
Right. Well, I will say one thing. You've probably forgotten this because it was 80 episodes ago. Is that there's at least one sort of cliffhanger that can have immediate action taken, which is that Saeed was like shot in the stomach. So
yeah, I really don't want.
They're dealing with that once we get back to the 70s people.
Yeah, I really don't want Saeed to die. I will honestly be disappointed in that. I think he is a solid member of the cast who deserves to continue being that throughout the end.
Yeah. If only, like, season 5 introduced some sort of magical way for someone to survive a gunshot wound. Too bad that didn't happen.
That would be some parallel ass shit, considering that was how Ben was saved from Saeed.
Right. Well, then I think that's it for this one. As much as I hope it's not, as much as I don't want it to end, simply because I know it's going to be several more weeks before we record again. But
yeah, I mean, in part because it's been a while since we've recorded, but these were some very fun ones to discuss.
Absolutely, they were really good. And the thing is, though, is that season 6, again, it goes back to... Season 6 starts off slow, I will say that. it's season 6 goes slow. So at least I won't be on the edge of my seat waiting to do another recording with you, just because.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little on the edge of my seat, just because I want to see what happens to them after the nuke, because that cliffhanger has been going on for a long time, and I want to see Sun and Jin reunite. But I'm gonna have to tank that because it'll be a while before we can record again. Except you, the listener, won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, to you it'll just be normal schedule. So
yep.
Anyway, I hope you join us next time, where we will be covering episodes 89, The Island, Day 5 to 6, and episode 90, The Island, Day 6.